Hey everybody, Jared over here at Gen 5 DIY, and today I'm working on our 2019 Silverado Custom Trail Boss, and we're going to be installing Roto-Fab's newest cold air intake for the 5.3 for these trucks. So take a quick peek under the hood here right now. We see our stock air box. So we just got our Roto-Fab in today. Let's open this thing up, get the parts out, and let's get it installed. Alright, I got the box all opened up and everything out. The cold air intake does come with a good instruction guide. The guys did a wonderful job describing everything and breaking down what's needed as far as tools and everything. Go over a brief overview of that. You're going to need a 15 Torx, 10 millimeter deep socket. You're going to need a little plastic trim removal tool, as well as a Phillips screwdriver and a 8 millimeter nut driver. Those are your main tools to get you going on this. Step one on here to get it installed is on the hood latch right here. You'll see there's two Torx screws that hold on this little plastic extension. I've pretty much loosened those up already here, but we'll just wing those off completely. Once those are off, that slides right off. Now this air inlet grate right here is held in with 10 plastic push pin retainer clips. These are the ones where the center, it's like a rivet. You just kind of lift up. You don't have to take the middle all the way out, and just whoops, and then you watch it go flying. Good catch, Jared. You got it right there. There's 10 of these total. I've already taken these out to speed it up a little bit here in the video. So once that's out, just pull that off. Now you have full access to that. The next thing you're going to want to do is we got to take out the inlet duct. There's another one of those plastic retainers. Simply pry that out. Get that out of the way. Alright, this thing is it's a pretty long tube because it connects to the air box down here. What you want to do is make sure that this is below this brace. You could take this out if you wanted to, but I don't think there is a need to. But once it's there, you just got to wiggle, and there she, an angle to get her out, and voila, you got that piece out. All right, once that's out, now we can take off the upper part of the intake. We got our hose clamp right here. I've already loosened these here just to speed things up. That's an 8 millimeter. Just loosen that up. And then there's another one right there on the throttle body. Just loosen that. Okay, and before we can take it off, there's a breather tube that goes in the back here. What you'll see is there's a gray tab here. Push in tab, push in on the breather, and then pull back, and that comes right off. And just let that there. Now slide this off and slide it back to release it. Now, and then just lift up. All right, next we have the wiring loom right here, which connects to the air cleaner box. So it's using an appropriate pry tool. Just pry the gray one off right there. And there's another one on this side. Just pry that back. Once that's back, you can lift up on this connector, which slides into this bracket. Just leave it all connected, but just get it out of your way. Just push it out of there. We don't need to disconnect the mass airflow sensor. We're simply going to take out the Torx screws. Again, those are 15s. Don't want to lose those. I don't believe we reuse them, but just in case, we want to hang on to those. All right, like that. Now pull that straight out, and then we can just let it sit there like so. Just keep it out of harm's way right there, so it's not touching anything. All right, next step is there's a 10 millimeter nut that's on a stud that's in the front of the air cleaner box right here. Again, I've already loosened that up. Get that off. Now the air cleaner assembly will just lift up and out of the way. So make sure you don't damage anything there. This real quick here. So On the back side, you have these little rubber grommets. Now you notice it's grabbing on this wire harness, so just be careful when you're lifting up and get that out of the way, and it'll clear with no problem. Okay, now it's time to build out the air box. This is the mass airflow sensor housing. So basically, with the lid open, slide that through. And with it positioned in the way that you see it here with the inlet toward us, you want to position this at that angle. There's a retaining ring that goes over. And the retaining ring, you want the flat section to be pointing straight down. Now we got our 5 Phillips screws. Once you get one started, we'll be good to go. All right, we got a couple started here. Now you can just finish it off. There's a total of 5. Just get them all started first before you tighten any of them down, and then go back around and snug them all up. All right, so now we got them all tightened. So when you're done, you just want to make sure, we're looking at it on this view, you want your mass airflow sensor input to be at 2 o'clock position, and you want the flat part of the flange pointing down. Now we'll get into putting on the air tube extension. There. Take one of your hose clamps, put it on there. Put our boot over. Down flat. Just center your clamp on the silicone and tighten her down. All right, so now we have to put on our bracket assembly. So you're going to want to grab, there's a studded bracket right here. You'll see that the bracket has a ground out edge on it. You're going to grab the 2 silver nuts that are in the package along with the bracket assembly. Step 1 is going to be to loosen and remove the bolt that's down here on this bracket under the coolant reservoir. It's 10 millimeter. Again, I've loosened that already. For time being, just get rid of that bolt. Now, then this bracket end's a little bit tricky. See if you can see this here. There is a octagonal looking hole right here, and then there's another big hole right here. This stud, ground side toward the engine from the back side. Oh, I got lucky, it went right in. So now while you're holding that, this bracket assembly goes over it like that, and then you can just start the nuts loosely. You don't have to worry about holding the back side because those bolts are actually welded onto the bracket. So just get those loosely started, and then we will move on to the next step. Getting back to tightening up the bracket, before we had removed a bolt, we're actually going to use a different one. In the package there's a black bolt. Now just going to have to hold it from underneath, line up the nut that's attached to the bracket, and get that started. You can tighten everything up, including those 3 nuts that we previously did. On there. Just snug, don't have to crank on them. And then those 3 nuts. Alright, now there's the wire loom here that was on the other stud. Just push that right on top of that new stud, and that's attached, and that step is complete. Alright, now grab the original air inlet duct that we removed earlier from the car, and what we're going to do is grab the foam piece and take your backing off of there. Just take a little bit off at a time. Now this, we're going to start roughly, we're going to start up toward the top here like so, and I'm just going to get it on that channel, kind of stretching it as you go. Line up on top, perfect fit. Just push it down really good, and that's complete. All right, now we're going to take that air inlet that we just put the foam on, and we're going to put it in just like we did before. Sneak it down and just kind of guide it through there and leave it loose. Now we're going to drop our air cleaner assembly into the car. So we already set it in here. Basically, when you open the lid, that bracket we put on before with the studs, there's going to be a stud here that comes through the hole. There's another one here, and then the front one uses the original bracket. So once that's sitting down nice, you can guide that air inlet tube into the assembly like it was stock. Tighten up the 3 nuts, and then we'll move on. All right, so now it's time to insert the mass airflow sensor. You're going to use not the existing, but some new ones, 2 Phillips head screws. In there just like before, facing the connector, facing away from the air cleaner. And just snug those up, and then the mass airflow sensor is installed. All right, next we're going to put on our breather elbow onto the tube. We got our plastic elbow. Just thread it on. Snug it up. Now positioning, you just kind of want to get it, we can always fine tune when it's in the car. I'm going to kind of place it like that as the illustration shows. Slide the hose onto this. There's no hose clamps or anything, it just slides right on. And then your fitting, you'll notice that there's a tapered end and a non-tapered. The tapered end is going to go into the hose. That portion's done. Now we can put on our hose connections at the throttle body. Using the smallest of the hose clamps. Like so. Slide that all the way on until it stops. And then you can snug up that clamp. Alright, now we'll put our elbow on, slide the big clamp, slide it over the silicone connection so it's on there. And then we'll do the same with the other big hose clamp. So they're on there already. Now you just kind of work this on there and one end in. Then you can kind of play the twisty game. Work that. Slides on there. Make sure the angles are all good, everything's in there good. Once that's done, that's in. You can tighten up the hose clamps, and then at the same time we'll get our breather connection kind of where we want it. Remember, we disconnected this before, so let's kind of get that where we want it. Snap it on, tighten up the clamps, and then we'll come under the air cleaner box, and if your air cleaner wasn't already installed on there, we'll put that on there. And she's all done. It's good to go. Fire it up and see how she sounds. All right, she's all installed. It went in pretty good. Took us probably about 30 minutes, if that. Great directions. Very simple install. Probably most difficult part was that back bracket, but not hard to do at all. As you can see, it's in there. Got the clear window. See what's going on in there. Again, just go over everything. Make sure all your connections are tight. Make sure your wire looms are put back to where they were. And once you know you're good, you can fire it up and let's hear how she sounds. So there you go. That's installing the new Roto-Fab air cleaner for the 19 to 20 5.3s. Thank you.